Let me quickly bring in Mercy. Mercy, good evening. You've spent time with both the APC campaign and the resident electoral commissioner today. What is the biggest message both sides are trying to send to voters?
Okay, hello, good evening, Felicity rather. We spent a couple of minutes, or better still hours, with the INEC rec today. That is Mrs. Babalola, and she ensured to assure the media that INEC is ready for a free and fair, credible election. She spoke about how they've sensitized the general public, and they're hoping for inclusion. And when I mean inclusion, not just women, of course, persons with disabilities. And she also moved forward by giving numbers of people that actually registered to get their PVCs, and this number is ranging to over 600,000, and about 400,000 people had collected their PVCs as of the time. That was this morning, but then collection of PVCs already ended as of I think 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. today. We actually ran into a couple of persons that came there to collect their PVCs, but then away from INEC, we moved to APC. There's been lots of things APC has alleged, moving from the fact that they've said that Governor Ademola Adeleke actually awarded a contract to of the airport. He wants to build in air. They said he awarded the contract to an interior design person, and they said him trying to achieve the record of the longest runway in the world is not visible. But then one would wonder, does Osun State deserve an airport or not? But it seems like APC is saying they do not want an airport. But then part of the problems some persons have raised is the major problem with government is always continuity when it comes to the fact that a government starts a project and then another government comes and discontinues that project and then start afresh. But then that is just like one out of many issues they raised. The chairman for media for the campaign of APC also raised the issue about the fact that the superstar Davido, who doubles as I think chairman for one of the trust fund, equally has not done anything. There were lots of allegations, but then of course we have to get back to a court party for them to and give us a reply to this.
Interesting that the allegation is giving an interior designer the contract for an airport. Who knows the intricacies of that? Perhaps you can help us find out. Bernard, you on your part, you've spoken with the police public relations officer, and you've also followed the Accord Party campaign. What are the key assurances coming from security agencies?
All right, thank you, Felicity, for having me tonight. From the public relations officer of the police here, first of all, I would state that we did observe that certain police officers have already been deployed to Osun State and they've been making their way down. We could see police officers from Lagos and from certain other states, as is the practice when it comes to elections, particularly off-cycles elections like the ones that we see, the one that we are seeing in Osun State this year. Police officers are being deployed from different states to come and support the security architecture on ground here. And the public relations officer did also say that there's been some very good collaboration between the police and other security operatives on the ground, from the army to the NSCDC to the FRSC and all others that can supply support when it comes to security in Osun State, because of course of the kind of election, some would say the kind of peculiarity that we get to see when we come to Osun State elections. However, the police public relations officer did assure us and assure all citizens and residents of the state that the state and the Commissioner of Police concerning the elections will leave no stone unturned to ensure that anybody or persons who intend to perpetrate whatever type of crime or criminality during this period will be brought to book. And he also did make good to mention that they would not just be brought to book here in the state, they will be taken to Abuja and be arraigned there. Some kind of deterrent sending out to all those who may have the intention, to perpetrate crime, basically. And then to also add that we did equally see some particular places where there were stops and searches going on. The public relations officer did also finally say that certain places that have been considered to be hot spots when it comes to elections in the state are places that they are going to focus their radar on and ensure that those kind of places, based on information they have from experience, will no longer be as difficult to control and maintain peace as they have seen in the past. So his assurance is that security will be top-notch and will not be compromised.
Bernard, let's stay with you for a bit longer. How is the Accord Party responding to recent political developments, particularly the EFCC controversy and the president's intervention?
All right, I think basically they are just responding without using words. They are responding by using actions. When eventually the president put out that statement asking the EFCC to overturn, that decision they made, almost immediately, well, even with or without that, the Accord Party was still going to go on with their program. So yesterday, while we got the message from the president, the Accord Party went on with their rally. There was a commissioning of a flyover, and then we saw the current governor, Adebola Adeleke, and of course his campaign partner and nephew, David Adeleke, popularly known as Davido, going on with their campaign. They went to a second venue yesterday, and then as for today, it was the turn of the youths in the party, to throw their own campaign movement, if you like. A subtle statement saying that whether or not the EFCC froze their account, and it was unfrozen, that they will go on anyway with their party and campaign plans.
All right, Bernard, Mercy, in 40 seconds, if you can, tell us what the mood is like among expectant voters in Osogbo. Are people focused more on the campaigns or concerns about the credibility of the process?
Well, some persons have said people are more concerned about campaigns because we had the long drive through from Ifete, though, if I'm correct, to Osogbo this night. It was about a 3-4 hours journey, and all through on the road there were lots of campaigning, and some persons even mistook us for one of the parties, and you could see them chanting Ambo Ambo, and that is the slogan for the All Progressive Congress Party, because they had major campaigns in some of the rural areas. And if you ask, I would say yes, they are really, really into the campaign thingy, lots of chanting and songs and everything. And we asked the chairman for the media for APC in Osun State this morning, we asked if this crowd would actually turn into voters for him. And he said he's 100% assured that the fact that they've put crowd means they would win the election. But then the election is about 8 days away. Let's see what happens. Over to you in the studio.
All right, Mercy, thank you so much for your coverage. Bernard as well, thank you. And you both, please be safe as you go about covering the campaigns. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, we'll be talking with Godson Nwankwo on a broader issue with the elections we're expecting come August 15. Stay with us. Thank you for staying with us. Let's now move beyond the events on the ground, as my colleagues have unveiled, and examine the broader implications of the election. Joining us from Jos is Godson Nwankwo, Director of Programs and Policy at the Center for Youth Participation, Dialogue and Advocacy Africa. Thank you so much for joining us on the news. With just days to the polls, what should Nigerians be watching most closely to judge whether this election is credible?
So much for having me. So I'm just going to say first, Nigeria should be looking at the conduct of INEC. So far, INEC has already said that they've completed most of their logistical processes. They've deployed over 4,000 beavers to local governments. They've also conducted security mappings, in collaboration with the security agencies. So I think this is already commendable. So what is now left is for them to deliver a credible and fair election. Secondly, I think Nigerians should also be looking at the neutrality of the security agencies. The work of the security agencies is to protect the voters, to protect the electoral officers, and to also protect the election materials, not the politicians, right? So we've seen situations in the past where security agencies guide people that snatches ballots. So I think Nigeria should be paying attention to the neutrality of the election security agencies. Thirdly, as well, is the voter turnout. Osun has about 1.95 million registered voters, and so far there's over 1.5 million that have collected their PVC. But with the events that is happening, the violent events and security events, there might be low turnout. And this is really going to define the elections, because people will be afraid to come out if they perceive that there is going to be harm. And there are a lot of flashpoints. Even the National Peace Committee have flagged off. So Nigeria should be paying attention to the voter turnout. And fourthly, I think we should also pay attention to the transparency of the election collection during the election. And then finally, the outcome of the election. We've had cases where after elections, there is violence and people are killed, people disagree with the outcome of the election. So in this election, credible election will mean that those who lose, we actually believe that they lose fairly to the people who won. So these are things I feel like Nigeria should be looking at, leading to the election.
Godson, you've just refocused our attention, because a lot has been said about the controversy surrounding the EFCC and the Osun government. Do you believe that shifted attention a little more away from the real issues affecting voters?
Absolutely, it did. If you look at voters, the things that has remained consistent in what voters care about are actually the issues, jobs, rising cost of living, education, healthcare. But unfortunately, during election seasons like this, institutional controversies always consume election issues, like the EFCC, for instance. Yes, we argue that the EFCC is actually carrying out its statutory mandate to investigate financial crimes, but the timing is very wrong, right? And also the directive of the president for EFCC to unfreeze the account also sets a very dangerous precedent, because EFCC is supposed to be an independent agency, and the president do not have the constitutional right to tell EFCC what to do, especially in its operative, mandate. So I feel like it has shifted the conversation from the real issues, and people are now, talking about it, because it also shows some political tones. Because why hasn't this investigation started since? Okay. Of course, so it shows political tones as well. So it has shifted the conversation solely from the issues.
Okay. You are a civil society group as well, if I'm correct. So talk to us a bit about the role that civil society and election observers should be playing in this final week before the election.
So one of the most important things I think civil society should be doing is to encouraging people to participate, without violence, and also discouraging misinformation. So in election period like this, there's a lot of misinformation, fake news that comes from different camps, and this is where the civil society comes in to educate the people, to help the people. So civil society, as the watchdog of democracy and the bridge between institution and citizen, should be there to guide people, to encourage people to participate. Right. Secondly, also is to deploy observers across the local government to observe the elections credibly, and to also document the events professionally without being objective or without being seen as political actors. And finally, is just to continue to educate citizens. The events that is happening in Osun, like I said, has already created fear in the minds of the people, but they need reassurance, to come out and vote. And the security agencies like the IG of police has assured Nigerians that there will be maximum security during the election. The civil society can help, to educate people, to tell them, to come out to vote. So I feel like these are the things that the civil society should be paying attention to as we go into the elections.
Godson, it's been a pleasure speaking with you. Thank you for your time.